know rock and roll at all, you will know our next guest. A very well-known face in the rock and roll world. Debbie Harry is here from the trend-setting new wave group known as Blondie. And welcome to Co-Ed. Thanks for stopping by today.
Thank you.
I'd also like to introduce you to some of your fans and some fans of rock and roll. We have Adam, and we have Sarah, and we have Suzanne to ask some questions today. You recently wrote a book with Chris Stein, and in reading it, I was especially touched in the very beginning of the book when you described that you were adopted and that you had this fantasy from a very early age that perhaps because you'd never really know your natural parents, maybe you were Marilyn Monroe's kid. Is that something that is still a fantasy with you? Is that something that led to the development of Blondie and of the look? And
partially, yeah. But what I discovered later was even more sort of phenomenal, is that a lot of girls, I found a lot of girls that had the same fantasy.
Is that right?
Yeah. And it's really remarkable that everyone should sort of pick that person.
Oh, you mean having the same fantasy of being with Marilyn Monroe, not just anybody else?
Right,
yeah.
Right.
And these were folks who, all other kids who had been adopted like yourself? Or? Yeah.
Yeah.
At that early an age, you also talk about sometimes even fooling around with your parents and suggesting that, well, one day they'd see because you'd be rich and famous and you had this
brat.
Did you always feel as a kid that you wanted to be famous or that you would be?
I used to always say it. I don't know, I just used to say it, whatever it meant, whether I was just frustrated but
right.
I don't know, I guess I was sort of driven.
Right, You talk about also in the book, throughout the teen years especially, going through different phases where you felt almost separated from some of the other girls that you were in school with, and that at one point, sometimes perhaps even a strange hair color would be your way of showing that you really did have a flamboyant personality.
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of shy. I really couldn't always react or say things or, portray the things that I felt or,
right,
through just the normal ways of communication. So I would dress myself or color my hair.
Right, so it was something that you brought out with these add-ons, so to speak, that really became the trademark of the band. Did you ever feel locked in after a while to that image that really represented Blondie?
Yeah, I did. After a while, I stopped for about 3 years. And I went back to my natural hair color, and then I had red hair for a while. Now I'm back to this.
First time that I ever saw the band was at a place here in New York City that is no longer really in existence, although in some of our memories, I suppose it is, Max's Kansas City.
Oh, right, yeah.
And at that time, there were about maybe 8 or 9 people in the audience. The first record had just come out. You were brand new. But within a very short period, within maybe, say, from that point till 2 years later, you were everywhere. You were all over the world traveling. You had a lot of big hits. The Gloria Vanderbilt jeans thing happened recently, even being in a play on Broadway. Have you ever had a chance to catch up, like, just to the point of being able to enjoy life? I mean, it just seems like once it started for you, it really
was like
crazy.
chasing it. We were being propelled by it. But we did have, I think we had a good foundation for it. We worked for 3 or 4 years. Well, we started in 73 and we didn't really break till 77. And so we did have all that time to really feel free about what we were doing in that way. And then after I think about 1981 or 1980, we sort of got away from being in front of this rolling thing. So it wasn't that long of a time, but for the length of time that it was pretty, it was pretty breathtaking.
Yeah. Go ahead, you have a question.
Do you feel that you've opened up future doors for future rock and roll singers, women rock and roll singers?
In a way, yeah. I think in this period of music, we always felt that the punk and pop or pop rock or new wave was sort of like a title for an era in music, not for a style of music, not for a sound, more just for the era. And I think within that period of time, it sort of made the rock and roll, the record companies look at women as more positive.
Yeah.
You were in a Broadway play, and do you find right now that acting or singing is more important to you?
Music's my first love. It's always, everyone there, everyone in the cast and all the people that were connected with the Broadway show wanted to know what it was like to do a show like a rock show. That's all they wanted to know. It was so, I mean, that was like the ultimate excitement of a performer. And it really is. There's nothing like it in any other form.
I was wondering, when you were young, was there anyone you really looked up to as an idol when you were growing up? Like a rock star or something like that?
Yeah, I think they all sort of changed. I think, you know, I would just sort of latch onto one and sort of study them and copy them, and then, you know, the next one would, you know, attract me or something. I wouldn't say there was any one particular.
In the future, do you plan on keep on singing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But when you guys had, I guess it was the first really major hit with Heart of Glass, and that was one of the first times really that a band with a rock and roll image took a disco sound and really incorporated it into what they were doing. It was very successful, but was there at the same time a backlash from some of the real hardcore rock fans? What, you know, how did you deal with that? Or did you just choose not to?
I don't know, we just attacked them. I don't know, it even happened with people that were friends of ours.
Right.
I mean, they would just say, you know, how could you do that? And I would say, what are you kidding me? It's great, you know. It's we love crossover stuff. I mean, our approach to music is sort of very eclectic anyway. And I mean, that was one of our aims. So I mean, everybody's got a different sensibility and taste about it. So I mean,
right. Now, of course, that kind of crossover is almost all you're hearing.
Yeah.
So in a way, you're almost ahead of your time with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is always a nice compliment. It's a nice way to feel that you're doing something slightly ahead, but it can be a difficult time too when audiences are confused or maybe not quite as willing to accept it, you know, the first time out.
In this country especially, we were, I think, way ahead of our time. Our records really didn't do anything compared to what they did in Europe and in England.
Do you miss the days of playing in small clubs as compared to what happened when it evolved into such a big machine? Was there one that was a little more fun than the other?
It's yeah, I miss that. I miss that way of performing. It's a nice intimate kind of feeling. And I mean, there's problems in everything that you do in performing, and the few minutes that you have on stage is like, that's the ultimate time. So, I mean, I miss that, of course, but I mean, I certainly don't miss all the other stuff.
Yeah. Was there a big difference when you'd all be on the road on a big tour? Was there a feeling of a real separation between, say, you as the woman and the guys, or was it all the guys? Did you all feel kind of, was there a difference being a woman?
Yeah.